He's the 15th candidate for Denver mayor. At some point, we'll start listing who isn't running.
I'm, like many people, frustrated with what's going on in the city right now.
Entrepreneurs ready to cash in on legal psychedelics are warned this isn't expected to be like the marijuana boom. Inflation is making hunger worse across Colorado as nonprofits scramble to keep up with the need. A city leader in trouble for getting physical with a journalist. And this man has an odd idea of what makes a vacation. He's made 180 trips to war zones and conflict areas. As Coloradan's back from his latest trip, with perspective for all of us on Next. Sure, we're less than a week past Election Day, but Denver is already knee-deep in its first open mayoral race in 12 years. Denver's Election Day is April 4th. Be here before you know it. The latest candidate to get into that race is Democratic State Senator Chris Hansen. He spoke exclusively with politics guy Marshall Zellinger before the news became public today.
There are several high-profile names who have already announced that they're running for mayor. They are female and they are diverse. You are a white male. Why does Denver need a white male mayor?
Well, I think Denver has had a really long history of carefully evaluating the candidates that are in the race, regardless of their background, their creed, their ethnicity, et cetera. And so I am confident the Denver voters will be able to do that again. And my approach is really just to put a lot of optimism, a lot of positive ideas in front of the Denver voters and let them make the best decision.
Policies around those experiencing homelessness first. Would you continue the homeless camp sweeps?
Well, I think we need clear enforcement of our camping ban. I think for the city to be safe, for the city to function and be an inviting place for everybody who lives here, we need to be very clear that we're not going to be able to have camping on the streets. It's not good for anybody involved, for the neighborhoods or for those in the unhoused. And this is where I think we can really step up our partnerships with nonprofits, particularly the Salvation Army, Denver Rescue Mission, have had some great success. And I think that's a place where the city can really double down and work with the private sector and work with philanthropy to make more rapid progress.
Can you mention any specific areas that you know are wasting money?
The two areas I've looked at the hardest are public safety and areas around services to the unhoused. Both huge parts of Denver's budget and both places where I think there are some really clear efficiencies.
Does that mean Denver police budget gets cut?
Not at all. I mean, I don't think the city can function without a world-class police department. We're understaffed right now in the public safety departments, so police, sheriff, fire. And so I think it's a time for reinvestment and efficiency, not a moment to cut.
Hansen still has 2 years left in his term as state senator representing Central and East Denver. He told me he does not see any inherent conflict in accepting contributions for mayor while still making decisions at the state capitol. But he would be careful to make sure there are no direct conflicts. You can see our unedited interview on the Next YouTube channel.
So you figure, how is a candidate going to stand out in a race where there are 15 names in it? One great way to stand out in politics is to have a pant load of money. But Hansen and most of the other prominent candidates in the race are all voluntarily limiting how much they can accept from people.
Yeah, under the new Fair Elections Fund that the city of Denver is using city funds to match certain donations. Once you get 250 unique contributions for mayor, you can qualify where $5 to $50 is matched by the city times 9. So a $5 contribution becomes basically $50. A $50 contribution basically becomes $500. But you can only get $500 max from anybody. And if you don't accept the Fair Elections Fund money, you can get a maximum of $1,000. So you can raise more from fewer individuals or less money from more individuals and get a bunch more from the city.
I'm not sure that got clearer as we went on. I think what is clear is that some of these candidates are going to have outside groups spending on their behalf, and that's where the big money will come from. Marshall, thank you. So Hansen's the 15th candidate in the Denver mayor's race, probably not the last. Some well-known names already in the race include Democratic State Rep Leslie Herod, former Denver Metro Chamber CEO Kelly Brough, and City Councilwoman Debbie Ortega. The race also includes some community leaders like 2019 mayoral candidate Dr. Lisa Calderon, civil rights activist Terrence Roberts, and environmental activist Ian Tafoya. Former State Senator Penfield Tate, who ran back in 2019, told me a few weeks ago he was still looking at the mayor's race, also looking at the city council at large race. And former police chief Paul Pazin has been on conservative talk radio flirting with a run for mayor. Today, Denver City Council approved Mayor Michael Hancock's final budget today. It is a nearly $4 billion plan to reduce homelessness, recruit more police officers, and continue downtown development. The City Council did break with the mayor over a crosswalk safety plan that the mayor rejected. City Council proposed this $1.1 million addition to the budget to pay for flashing pedestrian signals at high-traffic intersections across the city. Mayor Hancock said that spending that money would cut into the city's reserve funds. City Council unanimously said, no, we're going to put it in anyway. Denver's approved budget also includes $254 million to support affordable housing and deal with homelessness, $36 million to expand behavioral health services, drug counseling, and telehealth, and nearly $8 million to add almost 200 new officers to Denver's police force. Last month, City Council voted down a couple of amendments from Councilmember Candy Citabaca that would have taken millions of dollars away from the city police budget and used it elsewhere. And Citabaca, who's Democratic Socialist, was the only council member to vote against the final budget today. So, it's not even final at this point. The Coloradans have opened the door for psychedelic mushrooms in this state. But with Prop 122 comfortably on track to pass, 53% yes, they're planning for the future. Proposition 122 decriminalizes psilocybin mushroom possession for adults 21 and older, and it will eventually allow state-licensed treatment centers to administer that drug. Those facilities are not expected to start opening until late 2024. There's going to be a convention in Denver next September, next year, where investors can learn about the psychedelics market. The organizer says, do not expect a boom like the one we saw when Colorado legalized recreational marijuana.
I don't see psychedelics becoming recreational in the United States like cannabis did. I don't see someone going into a dispensary or a doctor's office and purchasing some psilocybin and going home with it. I don't see that, but I do expect the rush of excitement and people that invested in the cannabis industry to also be similar in the psychedelic industry as well.
The convention's organizers also do events in Oregon, which set up state-licensed psychedelic mushroom centers in 2020. Oregon also did this on a multi-year timeline. They approved it in 2020. Their centers won't open until next year. 1 in 3 Coloradans deals with food insecurity, hunger, or at least worry about where they're going to get their next meal. Voters just passed Proposition FF, which will provide taxpayer-funded school lunches for every student in the state. Until that kicks in, cities like Denver are trying to meet the need through several approaches at once. Our Anusha Roy takes a closer look.
Here is a snapshot of the need. Food insecurity can look like not having enough food, struggling for a short time or a long time, and running out of food for kids over the weekend. The city of Denver says that affects as many as 80,000 people. They have ideas like more community gardens and expanding capacity at food banks to reach another 20,000 people by the end of next year if City Council approves their budget.
People that are needing to be helped today, and there will likely be different and new people that may need to be helped tomorrow and in the future.
For mobile pantry distributions, I've heard that we're seeing double the number that we were even during the height of the pandemic.
In the last year, the Food Bank of the Rockies served more than 460,000 people as inflation is taking a swing at food costs.
We're not able to have the amount of food that we would love to have in the warehouse.
The nonprofit Colorado Feeding Kids gave out as many as 120,000 meals in one day. So how much of a gap does all of this close? Colorado Feeding Kids said they are racing to keep up. Food Bank of the Rockies is operating as fast as they can as they spend $1.3 million each month to purchase food.
That's triple what we were purchasing in 2019.
And then there's a reality check from the city of Denver.
In maybe 10 years, that number will be very small, but we just can't predict, obviously, all the different factors that tie into food security. Unfortunately, the answer is probably never going to be zero.
It's an issue that will keep morphing, which is why the folks dedicated to addressing it are trying to keep up, tailoring their work to communities and neighborhoods, relying on fundraising, budget requests, volunteers.
Hunger can be found anywhere.
And turning to voters for help. For Next, I'm Anusha Roy.
Proposition FF passed last week with just more than 56% support. The advocacy group Hunger Free Colorado estimates that proposition, when implemented, will help feed an additional 60,000 kids who don't already qualify for free or reduced lunch, but still might have food insecurity and could benefit from it. Just up the road in Adams County, part of their approach there is in-school food pantries stocked by the nonprofit Food for Hope. So all this month, in collaboration with the 9 Cares Colorado Shares Food Drive, your Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns, 3 of them, are all working to fight hunger in different communities. Since last Wednesday, you've raised more than $25,000 to help Food for Hope stock those in-school food pantries. It's a place where parents coming in and out and students can get food to bring home for the whole family. If you know of a nonprofit anywhere in our state that could use our help, please email me, next@9news.com. Your Word of Thanks campaigns have raised almost $9.8 million. I'll be back on Wednesday with a new idea of how we can help.
Loveland decides what to do with a city leader charged with harassment for what he did to a journalist.
He's a history buff who prefers grabbing a plane ticket to see history in the making over reading about it in a book. He just got back from Ukraine.
It's real life. I mean, you cannot deny it.
His firsthand perspective, next. The mayor of Loveland wants to suspend the city manager for getting physical with a journalist. That independent journalist, Stacy Lynn, says she was filming city leaders. They were leaving a courtroom in May when she said the city manager, Steve Adams, quote unquote, shoulder checked her.
I'm a journalist working inside a justice center, and a city employee who was upset with my work hit me, knowing he was on camera.
There's the view there. Let's watch it again. Lynn says Adams made contact, hit her with his shoulder. I mean, he's staring right at her. Lynn filed a report with the sheriff's office. He was charged with harassment. City manager took a deal that requires him to do community service and take a conflict resolution course, and in return, the charges will be dismissed. Journalist is calling on the city to take further action. Loveland Mayor Jackie Marsh says she plans to introduce a motion to suspend the city manager with pay at tomorrow's city council meeting. The mayor says other city council members have asked for any other discipline against Adams to be dealt with at his performance review next month. We reached out to him today for comment, didn't hear back.
Denver's minimum wage workers get a raise in January. City's minimum wage will go up to $17.29 an hour. Tonight's next question comes from a viewer named Tim, who wants to know who exactly will see that bump in pay.
So, Tim, the minimum wage increase only applies to work that is performed for employers within city limits. So if you work remotely for an employer in Denver, then the wage increase applies. If you work remotely in Denver for an employer who's based somewhere else, no wage increase. Now, as for tipped workers like servers or bartenders, minimum wage is going up to $14.27, so long as that plus tips comes out to be $17.29 or more per hour.
Well, very cold weather pushed in this afternoon, and we're waiting on some snow showers later tonight, leading into tomorrow morning. Not a whole lot of snow, but certainly something that you'll see, especially if you'll be out on the roads. Right now, we're at 31 degrees at DIA. Winds coming in from the north-northeast at 7 miles per hour, making it feel closer to 24 degrees out there. And all afternoon, we never made it above the mid-30s, which is well below average for this time of year. Our usual highs are in the mid-50s. We're about 20 degrees below that. So a very cold stretch of weather ahead. You can see most of the front range in eastern plains in the lower to mid 30s, 25 degrees right now though in Lyman. In the high country, we're in the teens and 20s and still slightly warm comparatively speaking, 40 degrees right now out in Grand Junction. So there's a whole lot of activity off to the east of Colorado, but that is spinning in some light snow showers across the state. Now right now, nothing looking too impressive, but as we go through the rest of the evening and into early tomorrow, we'll start to see some light snow showers push their way from the high country into portions of the front range, including Denver. So this is something you're going to watch for that morning commute tomorrow. Maybe plan ahead and give yourself that extra time, but then it all dies out by midday tomorrow. We're not expecting a whole lot of snow, less than half an inch expected. The bigger story going to continue to be the cold temperatures though. Overnight lows dropping to around 20 degrees tonight. Tomorrow, another very cold day with those highs maxing out in the mid 30s. Just a tad bit warmer Wednesday, but more sunshine there, upper 30s. And we just continue to be cold through the rest of the forecast. We have bigger snow chances pushing in on Thursday.
He's a bit of an expert in conflict. After 180 visits to places around the world where people are at war or on the brink, this Coloradan is back from Ukraine with some thoughts to share. And what do you think? Is that view distracting or inspiring? Hockey up high, real high, next.
There are history buffs who study what happened when it's long since passed. And then there are those who prefer a more real-time view. A 77-year-old from Colorado headed to Ukraine to see a conflict from an up-close perspective. He talked with our Byron Reed upon his return to Boulder.
I think this is the most important thing that's going on in the whole world right now. And so I just wanted to see it with my own eyes. Well, my name is Bruce Clark, and I consider myself one of the best traveled people specializing in the history of war. There's wars going on all over the world that we don't even hear about, you know, in Africa and Asia and stuff. But I mean, this is big time. This is Russia. Well, I've been to about 180 countries and territories. And I mean, that's my life. And I just got back about 10 days ago from about 9 days in Ukraine. I'm a news nut, and I like to see things in person, and it's just so much more real when you actually see it. I just love it. It just puts me in the center of history. This one was blown off and landed upside down. There were tanks and armored fighting vehicles, and they were just off on the side of the road. And that was like only 15 miles or so from downtown Kyiv. I'm not condoning war or promoting it, but it's real life. I mean, you cannot deny it. The history of the world is the history of war, and the history of war is the history of the world. You don't get the real picture just on a 30-second clip on national TV. So spending more time really exploring the area and just walking around Kyiv, it was just an amazing experience.
Clark says that he went to Lviv and Kyiv and Bucha and some other towns invaded early in the war, and he plans to go back to Ukraine come March. We're back with a postcard pretty most Colorado thing for you, and your feedback next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a picture-perfect game of pond hockey. Maroon Lake near Aspen is not open to the public much longer. The road leading up to Maroon Lake is closed mid-November to Memorial Day each year due to avalanche risk. So get in those ice days while you can. Hockey players were out over the weekend. Next viewer said that this view certainly qualifies as a most Colorado thing. What says our state to you? Email it our way next at 9news.com. Whole lot of feedback tonight about the idea of running for mayor, including a number of people who helpfully wrote in to say that they are not candidates for mayor. Thank you. I am updating my phone book line by line. Sudeb writes, if I want to run for Denver mayor, what do I need to have? Since there are 15 already, why not add a few? So I knew one of the qualifications off the top of my head, Sudeb. I knew that you had to be 30 years old, but I wasn't sure about the rest. So I looked up the city code during this last commercial break. So you have to be 30. You have to be a resident for 2 years prior to running. And then here's the part that I had never even heard. Shall devote full time to the duties of the office. They don't want that to be a part-time gig. If I recall off the top of my head, I think the pay is like $150,000, $160,000 a year, so you should be able to devote yourself full time. Rosalind writes in to say, don't you think Marshall should run for mayor? Well, he's 30. He's a resident of Denver, I know. He could not devote full time to the duties because he's still got a lot of duties here. I mean, he could leave us and run for mayor. See you next time.